Hello and welcome to my Health and Physical Education in Primary Schools presentation. For the first part of our discussion, we will be looking at the content descriptors for a grade 3 and grade 6 physical education class based on effort, space, time and objects. Now, physical education is a curriculum-based program that teaches students the benefit of physical activity, builds techniques for leading an active lifestyle and promotes healthy long-term habits. The Australian Government Department of Health recommends that children aged between 5 and 12 to do at least 60 minutes of accumulated exercise or physical activity daily. Now, within the grade 3 and 6 classes, we can apply the skills of different sports to achieve these curriculum outcomes. For this discussion, as mentioned, we will use basketball on an outdoor court to demonstrate different movement concepts for grade 3 students. Students can begin by doing fundamental dribbling activities, which allows them to use their hand-eye coordination and understand the importance of their timing and their movements. Now, partner passing drills can help students with their spatial awareness and develop game-related gross motor skills. Progression of activities should consider skill level, and students need to be competent prior to transitioning to the next phase. If the foundations haven't been reached, it's too hard to progress a student. You won't get the accuracy or you won't build those solid foundations for future success. At this stage, it is critical that these movements are done properly, and so repetition becomes important to ensure that those good habits are formed. As we educate the grade 6 students, we can introduce more complex movement sequences as the fundamental skill set should be developed. Now, motor skill competence is the practical knowledge that attempts to improve student movement capabilities, according to Barker and Nyberg. So in this phase of learning, students can begin to apply their skills in game simulation. This allows them to demonstrate their learnt knowledge and to also experience the impact that an increase or decrease in space may have on their ball handling skills, how limited time to pass the ball may affect accuracy, and when opponents, which are considered objects, are added to increase the challenge, how different movement patterns may need to be applied. Now, with our grade 3 students, the motor skills that they will be learning, locomotor skills, non-locomotor skills, axial movements and object control skills, whereas the grade 6 students are learning body awareness, spatial awareness and effort awareness. Now again, as mentioned, this is more in a game situation. There are many learning opportunities for both grade 3 and 6 classes. All students have the opportunity to refine their motor skills, engage in teamwork, apply critical thinking and creative movement skills. If we break down the motor skills used in basketball, your throwing, catching, pivoting and dribbling, large muscle groups are used. The fine motor skills used in the hands and the wrists are pivotal to other daily educational processes, such as holding a pencil or using a keyboard. Now, the grade 3 students, in accordance to ACARA 2024, are required to use fundamental movement skills that include the locomotor, the non-locomotor, and the axial, as mentioned. Now, locomotor skills include rolling, balancing, sliding, jogging, running, hopping, and dodging. The non-locomotor skills can include bending, stretching, pushing, bouncing, twisting. Now, we can incorporate all of these into drills within a basketball session. Now, the grade 6 students focus more on movement concepts, and this includes the body awareness, as mentioned, and spatial awareness, which is that perceptual motor skill that can be developed in relation to avoiding your defenders and finding your space on the court. Now, it's important that students are able to reflect, and as an educator, I can give feedback to these students when they are learning the motor skills so they can adjust technique. Important aspects to consider are safety and equipment when conducting the sessions on an outdoor basketball court. We must pay attention to the activity levels and the suitability to the students' capabilities. Specific equipment, so right-size basketballs, right-size rings, and also they need to be inspected, repaired and maintained on a regular basis. Considerations that need to be taken into account when conducting the session is differentiation. So focus groups that provide tailored instructions, for example, modifying an activity and having students sit down when they're learning their dribbling skills could be an example. So there's an emphasis on correcting technique before progressing forward. Safety requirements, so the basketball court needs to be clean, dry and a safe surface, and the correct footwear and clothing needs to be worn. Now, from a modification point of view, smaller size basketballs could be used to ensure that skills are performed properly and it allows for easier handling, and a smaller court size or lowered rings in the grade 6 at the grade 6 level could be used. With extension activities, you could have focus groups that provide a challenge, for example, dribbling with the opposite hand, or just providing that challenge where students that have reached a certain level can still continue their progression. And there is an emphasis on accuracy, which again goes hand in hand with the challenge. Now, according to Doherty and Brennan, policies describe the purpose, nature, and management of PE in schools. Now, with a policy, it is generally followed by a curriculum map, a unit of work, and a lesson plan. Look at the diagram here. We can see the levels of educational policies within Australia, and it shows that there is a critical inquiry approach to our teaching method, and the substrands moving our bodies, understanding movement, and learning through movement can all be related to the policies and the curriculum plans that have been put in place. As you can see, there are different levels to the policies. So there's a federal level, then there's state and territory priorities, and then it goes down to the school-based policies. So as you can see, it's almost like a short-term, medium, and long-term goal. For the next part of our discussion, the health strain of the curriculum will be looked at, and we will examine different strategies to implement the content descriptors for a grade 2 and a grade 6 class. In grade 2, the introduction into health messages and practices provides a foundation to future learning. In a classroom setting, activities that take on a collaborative approach will be conducted. A gratitude circle where a ball is thrown to students to prompt their contribution and express something they are grateful for combines both health and physical education components. Following on from that, a goals journal would be created to allow students to understand the purpose of community and health and their own values. It would also be beneficial for the school to take part in community initiatives that promote an active lifestyle. So I know that each local council generally has a physical education program that schools can take part in. Now, the grade 6 component would use resources related to cultural influences, changes in sport events over the last century, and their own experiences to guide learning related to gender stereotypes. Now, collaborating in mixed groups to allow different perspectives, both genders would contribute to the discussion and present their findings to the class. Between the two different year levels, the two content descriptors explore individuals' contribution to society and presents opportunities for students to identify how they can positively contribute to an ever-changing world. Students are able to contribute their own perspective on the world whilst also acknowledging the past. Through this, they can establish their own self-worth, their own goals and interests. And whilst the health topic selected tackles gender stereotypes, at a younger age, students are encouraged to focus more on their own individual strengths, weaknesses, values, goals, etc., which can help to break down the gender barriers that are created within society. Now, exploring the growth of females in sport would be a resource that would be beneficial during this unit. According to McMaster, a health in all policies approach is increasingly used by governments. This looks at important aspects of health and within the education system can help with inclusive practices and adjustments. Health education allows for the introduction of health messages, allows students to work collaboratively, allows them to goal set, establish their own values and confidence, help them understand what resilience is, and we can, as educators, implement resilience practices. It also allows us educators to introduce students to community health and well-being. So sports clubs that are on offer, local sports centres that they could use, parks and recreations that they can do their activities and have fun with their families. The grade 6 health component has a really big emphasis on the cultural influences, the gender stereotypes, the exploration of how sporting events have changed. So the inclusion of women in sports at the Olympics, for example. Collaborating in mixed groups allows for different perspectives, inclusivity and diversity, and just gives a chance for students to understand different opinions and also different experiences that people have had. And it also really hones in on the health and well-being opportunities that are available in the community as well. Now, if we select an issue of concern that might happen in a classroom, let's look at a student in class who is female and she wants to participate in a mixed-based sport. However, her family are hesitant of having their daughter participate in this event. So as an educator, it is important to have an understanding of cultural norms. Now, introducing multicultural sports days that introduce students to different sports from all over the world could be one such solution to make the school community aware that the school is diverse and inclusive of all. Now, this creates an environment where families and students can feel accepted and valued. And I think through effective communication and helping create a place where difference is celebrated and appreciated, the family and the student can begin to understand that if the student wasn't playing in a mixed team, the opportunity to participate may not be there. Another solution that could be implemented is an all-female team could be established to allow that student and her family to feel comfortable with participating in sport and again contributing to her health and well-being. As an educator teaching health, we can break down the curriculum content into different components that cater for individuals and for groups alike. So teaching strategies that can be used, we can set goals, we can apply collaborative learning, questioning and metacognitive strategies. So these are considered HIT strategies that can be used and implemented in a classroom. Now, consideration when it comes to teaching health, we need to be considerate of different cultures, acknowledge confidence levels and sensitivity to specific topics. Now, differentiating content within the class, we need to look at the individual versus a collaborative approach. We could use resources that are visual for those that prefer that. We could use field trips. We need to be cautious of our terminology used, and we can also have a look into adjustments for students with disabilities. Now, from an extension perspective, we can delve into community research projects and student organised cultural events.